In the shadowed underbelly of a forsaken hive spire, where the air hangs heavy with the stink of rust and despair, I sit alone by a flickering lumen globe. My name is Elias Thorne, once a lowly scribe in the administratum's endless halls, now a broken relic whispering truths that no one dares to hear. The Imperium's facade gleams with tales of glory and divine purpose, but I have seen the rot beneath, the grinding machine that devours souls without mercy. Listen closely, for what I am about to reveal is no heroic saga, but a descent into the true abyss of the 41st millennium. Imagine a galaxy where hope is a lie, where every breath is a chain, and where the Emperor's light illumines only the horror of existence. If you think the Xenos or the heretic are the greatest threats, you are blind. The real terror lurks in the daily torment inflicted by humanity upon itself. Dare you join me in this revelation? For once you hear, there is no turning back. The darkness will claim you, as it has me. Gather near, weary souls of the Imperium, for I, Elias Thorne, have walked the fringes of this cursed galaxy, piecing together fragments of forgotten lives from data slates and dying confessions. The Imperium presents itself as a bastion of order, a holy empire forged in the Emperor's will. But that is the grand illusion. To the trillions who toil in its shadow, it is a prison of flesh and steel, where freedom is a myth and survival a cruel jest. We speak of jobs, but in truth, these are not careers. They are sentences, hereditary curses passed down like tainted blood. Born into a role, you serve until death claims you, your worth measured in output, not in humanity. Currency? A farce for most. Hive credits barely sustain the husk of life, while barter and begging fill the gaps. For the elite, the rogue traders, the inquisitors, throne gelt flows like poisoned wine. But for you, the common soul, it is drudgery without end. Never will you gaze upon the stars beyond your world's smog-choked sky. Never will you know a choice unbound by dogma. This is the horror. Not the alien hordes, but the self-inflicted wound of oppression, where humanity's greatest enemy is its own unyielding machine. And so I ask you, pilgrim, if thrust into this nightmare, how would you endure? What role would the Imperium assign to your fragile form? Let me unfold these tales, drawn from the grim archives, each one a testament to the soul-crushing void that awaits. We begin with a fate so twisted it defies the Emperor's teachings, the Orc Butler. Orcs, those brutish Xenos abominations, are chaos incarnate. Sometimes a mere pestilence ravaging frontier worlds, other times a green tide swallowing systems whole. Unlike the Tau, who might barter for submission, or the Eldar who manipulate from afar with cold indifference, orcs revel in raw savagery. They take prisoners not for strategy, but for whim and amusement. Picture this. An orc warband overruns your isolated hive world. The Imperial reinforcements a distant dream lost in the warp's malice. The skies burn with crude orc ships, and the ground trembles under their boots. Those who resist are slain outright, their bodies piled as trophies or fed to the squigs, those snapping fungal beasts that devour anything in reach. But for a few unlucky survivors, a worse path unfolds. You, perhaps a simple hab worker, are dragged before a hulking orc knob, his yellowed tusks grinning in feral delight. Why you? Who can fathom the orc mind? Maybe your scrawny frame amuses him, or he reminds him of a stupid Humie from some half-remembered scrap. Thus begins your servitude as an orc butler. A role undocumented in Imperial tomes, yet logically inevitable in the anarchy of orc-conquered worlds. Your days blur into a haze of degradation and peril. Clad in rags stained with orc filth, you scurry through their ramshackle camps, huts of scrap metal and bone, reeking of grease, spores, and unwashed hides. Tasks are absurd, dictated by the orc's unpredictable whims, polishing a boss's chopper with spit and elbow grease, only for him to smash it in rage moments later, or serving platters of squig meat, still wriggling and dripping ichor, to a table of bellowing greenskins, or scrubbing the floors of their throne room, a pit of discarded bones and effluent. The grots, those spiteful goblinoids, eye you with jealousy, nipping at your heels or tripping you for sport, knowing you're lower than even them in this twisted hierarchy. But the true terror is the orcs themselves. Their tempers erupt like plasma vents. One wrong glance, and you're battered with a ham-sized fist, bones cracking under casual blows. Survival hinges on reading their moods, the low growl before a fight, the gleam in their red eyes signaling boredom that might end with you as the entertainment. I've heard whispers from escaped souls, how some humans, broken and desperate, begin mimicking orc ways, painting their skin green or grunting in crude mimicry. The orcs find it hilarious, tolerating it until it bores them, then pitting you against a grot in a pit fight for laughs. The mental erosion is relentless. Surrounded by Xenos horrors, you endure their stench, a miasma of fungal sweat and rot that clings to your skin like a curse. Chaos reigns. What pleased your master yesterday incites fury today. Sleep comes in snatches, huddled in a corner, ever vigilant for a boot or blade. Escape? A fool's hope. Orc camps are labyrinths of traps and patrols, and even if you flee, the Imperium views you as tainted, fit only for execution or servitor conversion upon rescue. The rare survivors emerge as shells, their minds fractured by trauma, whispering of nights spent witnessing human kin fed to squigs or forced into gladiatorial spectacles. In the end, you're no servant but a pet, disposable and forgotten, your existence a parody of imperial loyalty. Pray to the Emperor you never face such a fate, for in the orc's grasp, death is the only mercy.
From the whims of Xenos, we turn to the aftermath of humanity's own wars, the battlefield scavenger. In the 41st millennium, battles are cataclysms, worlds scarred by las fire, bolter rounds, and the thunder of titans. Victory's price is steep, and the Imperium, ever resource-starved, cannot afford waste. Enter the scavengers, the dregs dispatched to reclaim what the Emperor's wars have left behind. These are not valorous salvagers, but expendable souls, criminals, hive scum, or penal conscripts herded onto blood-soaked fields under the watchful eyes of commissars. Their task, sift through the carnage for anything salvageable. Weapons, armor, vehicles, even the sacred husks of titans are holy relics, not to be abandoned to rust or enemy hands. Imagine the scene. Dawn breaks over a shattered plain, the air thick with cordite and decay. You trudge forward in a ragged line, armed with little more than a las pistol and a data slate for logging fines. The ground is a nightmare mosaic, twisted metal, craters brimming with toxic sludge, and the mangled remains of comrades and foes alike. Unexploded ordnance lurks beneath the mud. One misstep, and you're vaporized in a bloom of fire. Radiation from plasma leaks seeps into your pores, promising slow agony. Cancers blooming like warp-tainted flowers. Xenos corpses add their own perils, tyrannid spores that choke lungs, necron alloys that hum with unnatural energy, or orc fungi that sprout anew from the soil. Against chaos, worse still, Whispers slither into your mind, promising power or madness. A glinting trinket might harbor a demon's essence, turning you into a vector for heresy. The work is methodical horror. You catalog debris, prioritizing high-value items. A Lumen Rush tank's turret, still humming with machine spirit. A fallen Titan's plasma reactor, its casing cracked but salvageable. But Titans demand legions, thousands of you swarming like insects, dismantling god machines under Mechanicus oversight. Climb precarious scaffolds amid leaking coolant and arcing energy, one slip meaning a fatal plunge. The psychological weight crushes you. Handling the eviscerated bodies of guardsmen, their faces frozen in eternal screams, erodes your soul. Depression sets in, a numb detachment from humanity's worth. Sickness claims many, toxins, infections, exposure, yet quotas must be met or face the boat gun. Survival offers no reward. You're cycled back into the hive's bowels, scarred and expendable. In the Imperium's eyes, materials eclipse lives. At least, as I once jested in my scribe days, it grants fresh air, though laced with death's perfume. Deeper into the void we plunge, to the bowels of the Imperial Navy's behemoths, the void ship's sanitation sewer. Void ships are floating hives, ancient leviathans crewed by millions, where generations cycle without planetary touch. For most, life is claustrophobic torment. Stale air recycled through wheezing vents, dim lumens casting eternal shadows, the ceaseless drone of engines gnawing at sanity. The void-born, those pale wraiths birthed in the black, thrive here, but you, press-ganged from a hive's depths, know only loss. Recruited under false pretenses, you awaken in this metal tomb, destined never to feel soil or sun again. Yet among the damned, the sanitation workers fare worst. Tasked with managing waste for teeming crews, you navigate labyrinthine ducts below decks, cramped, humid warrens reeking of sewage and chemicals. Human effluent mixes with machine runoff, oily sludge from engines, toxic spills from armories, even organic remains from Xenos incursions or plague-stricken quarantines. Pathogens lurk in every puddle, diseases that ravage flesh, turning skin to blistering rot. You toil alongside servitors, their lobotomized forms shambling through filth, oblivious to the horror. Malfunctions spell doom. A blocked line floods compartments with poison, or failing scrubbers choke the air with fumes, dooming thousands. Socially, you're scum, shunned by crew, blamed for every outbreak. From society's lowest, prisoners, mutants barely tolerated, you endure without thanks. Failure invites execution. Success, merely continuation. The isolation breeds madness, hallucinations from warp echoes, with a creeping dread of decompression during repairs. In this floating sepulchre, your life is waste incarnate, flushed away without notice. A brief shadow falls next, the Ox Servitor. Words fail here, for this is existence stripped bare. In the grim theater of Space Marine 2, newcomers recoiled at the sight of humans reduced to limbless torsos, wired into walls as mere switches. If full servitorhood is damnation, this is its prelude. Auxiliary functions, supplementary cogs. You might activate doors, monitor gauges, or relay signals. Your mind dulled by chems, body mutilated to fit. No glory, no purpose beyond utility. Even veterans shrug. That's the Imperium. A step down from horror, yet a reminder there's always a deeper abyss. Now illuminate the obscurity, the luminal servant. Candles, lamps, globes, these are no trifles in the Imperium, but beacons of the Emperor's light, banishing heresy's shadow. As a luminal, you maintain this eternal vigil in cathedrals, estates, and mechanicus forges, vast edifices spanning miles where light symbolizes faith's unyielding flame. Assigned young, often from pious stock, you wander endless halls tending thousands of flames. Climb spires on rickety ladders, risking plummets. Replenish blessed oils from ritual-locked vaults, enduring ceremonies that drag for hours.
The role's duality torments, respected on shrine worlds, where dimming a light invites scourging or fiery purification. Mundane elsewhere, yet ever scrutinized. No rest, shifts blur, sleep snatched in alcoves amid smoke that scars lungs. Isolation breeds superstitions, candles watching, whispers in the dark. Physical toll, blisters, falls, pollution-induced ills. Many vanish into forgotten corners, prey to lurking threats. Retirement? Servitorhood. A life of ritual drudgery, where light brings no warmth, only duty's cold grip. Entwined with faith's threads, the imperial reliquarist. Relics, bones of saints, Primarch banners are the Imperium's spiritual anchors, boosting morale or wielding tangible power. As reliquarist, you locate, authenticate, and guard them for the ecclesiarchy. Expeditions into war zones or chaos-tainted tombs expose you to death, ambushes, corruption seeping from artifacts. Authentication's burden: declare a fake true to preserve faith, or expose it and risk unrest. Guilt erodes, self-flagellation, paranoia, breakdowns. Some hoard relics, descending into madness. Others launch zealous purges in underhives. Revered if steadfast, damned if faltering, execution or exile awaits. A knife-edge existence where faith fractures under truth's weight. Finally, the soul's silent killer, the imperial propagandist. In administratum spires, you craft the Imperium's narrative, glorifying victories, erasing defeats, fabricating heroes. Demonize Xenos, suppress chaos's whisper, stoke fanaticism that sparks purges. Moral rot festers, condemning innocence to hide atrocities, altering histories to bury suppressions. Some embrace zeal, seeing necessity. Others crumble under guilt, fleeing only to be hunted. Knowledge of secrets seals your fate. Execution or mind wipe. Even in safety, the lie's burden devours. A quiet horror amid the machine's grind, enduring ceremonies that drag for hours. The grots, those malicious runts with beady eyes and needle teeth, view you as competition, pinching your flesh or sabotaging your tasks to curry favor, perhaps tipping over a cauldron of boiling fungus brew onto your legs, leaving scars that weep pus for weeks. But the orcs are the true harbingers of terror. Their moods shift like warp storms, a hearty slap on the back, cracking ribs one moment, a casual backhand sending you sprawling into filth the next. Learn to anticipate the signs, the rumbling growl building in their throats, the twitch of porcine ears signaling boredom, or face annihilation.
I've gleaned tales from rare escapees, their eyes hollowed by madness, speaking of humans who, in desperation, ape orc behaviors, daubing war paint from squig blood, grunting in broken low-Gothic approximations of orcish slang, even joining in brawls to earn a shred of respect. The greenskins roar with mirth at such spectacles, tolerating it until whimsy turns to violence, forcing you into arena pits against snarling grots or worse, for the entertainment of the mob. The psychological scourge is unrelenting. Isolation amid Xenos abominations erodes your faith, the Emperor's litanies drowned by the ceaseless wah chants that vibrate through your bones. Sleep is a torment of nightmares, curled in a spore-infested corner, ever alert for a prowling squig or an orc's drunken rampage. Hygiene is a forgotten dream. You wallow in grime, your skin crawling with fungal infections that itch like fire ants burrowing inward. Escape beckons as a cruel mirage. Orc encampments are mazes of barbed wire, minefields, and patrolling sentries, where fleeing means becoming target practice for sluggas or bait for hunting squigs. Even success brings damnation. The Imperium brands you as contaminated, subjecting you to inquisitorial interrogations that strip away layers of sanity, deeming you unfit for reintegration. Servitor conversion awaits the fortunate, your mind lobotomized, body augmented to serve as a mindless drone. For most, endurance fractures the psyche. Profound hopelessness sets in as you witness kinfolk paraded as spectacles, their screams echoing during fight nights, or as they vanish into squig pens, reduced to fodder. In this role, you are less than a slave, a jest, a disposable amusement in the orc's eternal cycle of crumping. The grimdark truth? Many cling to life not from courage, but cowardice, dreaming of impossible rescues while their souls wither. Emperor, forgive them, for in the orc's clutches, mercy is as alien as hope itself. From the barbarity of Xenos servitude, we descend to the desolation of humanity's own battlefields. The battlefield scavenger. In the ceaseless crucible of the 41st millennium, wars are not mere conflicts, but apocalyptic conflagrations that scar planetary crusts, leaving behind vistas of devastation vast enough to swallow hive cities whole. Orbital bombardments crater the Earth into lunar wastelands, while ground assaults churn soil into blood mud laced with shrapnel and viscera. Victory, when claimed, is Pyrrhic. The Empire's resources, stretched across a galaxy aflame, demand reclamation of every scrap. Thus emerge the scavengers, not noble reclaimers, but the dregs of society. Hive gang outcasts, penal legion survivors, or refugees with hollow eyes and famine-swollen bellies, marshaled into disposable squads under the unblinking gaze of commissars whose bolt pistols hunger for deserters. Your conscription is abrupt, dragged from an underheave cell or a refugee camp, thrust into a flak vest riddled with holes from prior wearers, armed with a flickering auspex and a rusted entrenching tool. The theater of your toil is a charnel house under open skies. Dawn's pale light filters through acrid smoke, revealing fields where the dead lie in tangled heaps, their uniforms tattered banners of thaled valor. The stench assaults first, a putrid cocktail of charred flesh, ozone from las discharges, and the metallic tang of spilled blood that coats your tongue like rust. You advance in ragged formations, boots sinking into muck that hides horrors, severed limbs grasping from the mire, unexploded cluster munitions that detonate with a whisper of movement, shredding flesh in sprays of bone and gore. Radiation from breached plasma cores hums in the air, an invisible poison that seeps into pores, promising mutations, extra digits sprouting like accusations of heresy, or tumors blooming internally like warp-tainted roses. Xenos remnants amplify the peril. Tyrannid husks release lingering spores that clog lungs with fibrous growths, causing agonized choking fits. Necron-flayed ones' metallic shards whisper mechanical curses, inducing hallucinations of skinless horrors. Orc spores take root in wounds, birthing fungal infestations that itch and spread, turning skin to greenish rot. Against chaos incursions, the dangers metastasize. The battlefield pulses with residual warp energy, where whispers slither into your skull like oily serpents, promising forbidden power or driving you to frenzied self-mutilation. A discarded gauntlet might harbor a daemon's echo, possessing the unwary and birthing cults amid the salvage teams. Your tasks are methodical drudgery amid apocalypse, cataloging debris with trembling hands on a data slate that glitches from electromagnetic interference, prioritizing relics like a chimera's intact turret, its machine spirit groaning in digital pain, or the sacred cogitator cores from fallen sentinels. But Titans, the god engines of the Legio Titanicus, demand epic labors. These colossi, fellowed in thunderous duels, lie as ruined mountains, their frames twisted into grotesque sculptures of adamantine and ceramite. Scaling them is suicide. Precarious climbs up oil-slicked hulls, amid leaking coolant that burns like acid, or arcing void shields that fry nerves with electric agony. Legions of you swarm like vermin, dismantling with plasma cutters and servo arms, while Mechanicus priests intone binary canticles, declaring mishandling as tech heresy, punishable by arco-flagellation, whips of energy flaying skin in ritual penance. The toll is multifaceted. Physically, exposure to toxins breeds ailments, respiratory failure from inhaled particulates, blindness from flash burns, limbs lost to collapsing wreckage. Psychologically, the ceaseless confrontation with mortality erodes the mind. Handling the eviscerated corpses of guardsmen, their eyes staring in accusatory silence, fosters a numb detachment where humanity becomes mere biomass. Nightmares plague your scant rest, visions of the dead rising to drag you down. Sickness reaps harvests, plagues from rotting bodies, radiation sickness vomiting blood in the night. Yet quotas loom, failure inviting summary execution. Survival yields scant reward, a brief billet in a hive barracks, only to be redeployed. In the Imperium's ledger, material outweighs lives. You are fodder for the Forge World's insatiable maws. As I once quipped in my administratum days, scavenging at least offers fresh air, though it's the breath of death, laced with the Emperor's indifferent scorn. Venturing now into the claustrophobic voids of the Imperial Navy's Leviathans, the Void Ship Sanitation Sewer. These ancient behemoths are not mere vessels, but floating microcosms of the Imperium, sprawling metropolises of steel and adamantium, where crews of millions cycle through generations without ever tasting planetary gravity. Life aboard is a symphony of confinement. Recycled air tastes of metallic tang and recycled sweat, filtered through wheezing scrubbers that hum like distant thunder. Corridors twist in labyrinthine knots, lit by flickering lumens that cast elongated shadows, fostering paranoia of lurking mutants or gene-stealer cults. The void's incessant vibration of plasma drives rattles bones, while the void's isolation gnaws at sanity, birthing void madness, hallucinations of spectral figures drifting in the black. Voidborn, those pale specters born in the ship's womb, adapt with eerie grace, their eyes adapted to perpetual. But you, shanghaied from a hive's depths under guises of honorable service, awaken to horror, condemned to eternity in this metal sarcophagus, never again to feel wind or soil, your world reduced to bulkheads and the distant wail of alarms. Among this damned multitude, the sanitation workers plumb the nadir. Assigned to the lower decks, humid warrens where moisture beads on walls like sweat on a fevered brow, you manage the effluence of tens of thousands, human waste mingling with industrial runoff in vast septic vats that bubble like cauldrons of heresy. The stench is omnipresent, a visceral assault of ammonia, rot, and chemical corrosives that burns nostrils and eyes, seeping into pores until you reek eternally. Duties encompass the grotesque, crawling through narrow conduits slick with slime, unclogging pipes clogged with congealed fatbergs of corpse starch residue and discarded limbs from Medicaid bays, neutralizing toxic spills from armory leaks, where promethium residues ignite spontaneously, immolating the unwary in blue-white flames, or disposing of plague quarantine sections where infected crew are sealed behind bulkheads, their muffled screams echoing as you vent the compartments to the void. Servitors accompany you, lobotomized husks with augmetic limbs, their flesh pallid and stitched, shambling through filth with mechanical indifference, their blank stares a mirror to your eroding soul. Hazards abound. Pathogens thrive in the damp, breeding fevers that ravage with delirium and hemorrhaging. Confined spaces invite asphyxiation from methane buildups or explosive decompressions during hull breaches. Xenos contaminants exacerbate. Remnants from boarding actions introduce alien biotoxins, necron manites that corrode flesh from within, or tyrannid ichor that mutates cells into chitinous horrors. Socially, you are pariahs, shunned in mess halls, your presence a reminder of the ship's underbelly, blamed for outbreaks even as overworked conditions doom your efforts. Drawn from society's refuse, mutant tolerated for utility, penal conscripts with brands of heresy, you labor without gratitude. Failure cascades catastrophically. A ruptured line floods decks with sewage, poisoning water recyclers and spawning ship-wide epidemics. Faulty scrubbers suffuse the air with toxins, inducing mass hallucinations or respiratory collapse. Success? Merely the privilege of continuance, under the lash of overseers who view you as expendable, as spent las cells. The mental strain culminates in void despair. Isolation breeds whispers of suicide, or mutinous thoughts suppressed by neural implants that jolt with pain at disloyalty. In this floating mausoleum, your life is effluent, flushed into obscurity, a testament to the Imperium's casual cruelty. A fleeting spectre next, the ox servitor. Language buckles under this abomination, for it is existence distilled to utility's essence. As glimpsed in the holodramas of space marine campaigns, these are humans paired to bare function, limbless torsos encased in plasteel, wired into bulkheads as interactive components. Door activators, console relays, or environmental monitors. Your mind dulled by psycho-indoctrination chems, body vivisected to fit the mechanism. Pain lingers as phantom echoes in severed nerves, while consciousness flickers in drugged haze, aware yet impotent. If standard servitorhood is oblivion's mercy, this is its mocking prelude, a step into deeper void, where even as a cog you serve in perpetual, liminal torment. Veterans of the Lord dismiss it with weary nods. Aye, that's the way of things. For newcomers, it is the first crack in the facade, revealing the Imperium's appetite for human degradation. Illuminating the obscure corners now, the luminal servant. In the Imperium's Gothic edifices, light transcends utility. It is the Emperor's radiant will, a bulwark against the encroaching night of heresy and despair. Candles, oil lamps, and luminon globes are sacred flames, each flicker a prayer against the void. As a luminal servant, you are the custodian of this eternal vigilance, tending illuminations in sprawling cathedrals, navigator spires, noble estates, and mechanicus forge temples, structures that defy scale, their vaulted halls echoing with Gregorian chants and the distant clang of servo skulls. Assigned young from pious orphanages or tithed families, your life is ritualized drudgery, patrolling miles of corridors, ascending vertigo-inducing spires on precarious scaffolds that creak underfoot like breaking bones, to replace wicks in ornate candelabra suspended hundreds of feet above marble floors slick with wax drippings. The duality torments. On shrine worlds, your role is exalted, each flame a manifestation of divine purity. Allowing one to gutter invites accusations of negligence, punishable by public floggings, where barbed whips tear flesh in symbolic penitence, or worse, immolation in purifying fires that consume the heretic alive. Elsewhere, it is mundane toil, yet scrutiny persists. Overseers with augmetic eyes monitor for lapses, deeming inefficiency as spiritual failing. No respite exists. Shifts rotate ceaselessly, meals snatched while traversing shadowed alcoves, sleep claimed in narrow niches amid the acrid smoke of tallow candles that blackens lungs and induces chronic coughs laced with blood. Isolation breeds madness. Alone in vast emptiness, you anthropomorphize the flames, convinced they judge your worth, or hear whispers in the wind of drafts, perhaps the Emperor's disapproval, or lurking demonic temptations. Superstitions flourish, a particular candle that ignites only for you, portending favor or doom. Rituals of thrice blessed matches to ward off dark omens. Physical perils abound, scaling rusted ladders in gale-force vents, risking plunges into abyssal drops, or inhaling fumes that foster respiratory plagues or cancerous growths. Many vanish without trace, swallowed by crumbling architecture or dragged into the dark by unseen horrors, their screams echoing faintly before silence reclaims all. For those enduring to frailty's edge, retirement is conversion, mind wiped into servitors, eternally tending lights in mechanical obedience. This role encapsulates grimdark irony, light-bringers shrouded in despair, where the Emperor's glow offers no solace, only the relentless grind to oblivion. An existence of anonymous servitude, where even holy radiance illuminates only the futility of it all. Entangled in the webs of sanctity, the imperial reliquariist. Relics are the Imperium's spiritual lifelines, fragments of saints' bones, Primarch-forged blades, banners stained with the blood of martyrs, imbued with apocryphal power, inspiring fervor or manifesting miracles like protective auras or restorative energies. As reliquariist, serving the ecclesiarchy or ministorum vaults, you are guardian, seeker, and arbiter, leading perilous expeditions to reclaim lost artifacts from war-ravaged planets, ancient crypts teeming with automated defenses, or chaos-infested ruins where the veil thins and demonic eyes gleam in the murk. Hazards assail, ambushes by opportunistic scavengers, environmental perils like collapsing tombs that crush under rubble, or exposure to relic taint, warp energies that corrode sanity, inducing visions of eldritch horrors or compulsive obsessions. Authentication's burden is the soul's crucible, discerning genuine from forgery amid subjective proofs, or spec scans flickering with interference, ancient texts riddled with contradictions. Declare a relic authentic, even suspecting fabrication, to bolster morale on a faltering world, risking your faith's erosion, or expose the lie and invite riots or inquisitorial scrutiny, branding you complicit in heresy. Guilt festers like an untreated wound. Devout at first, you justify deceptions as necessary veils, but repetition breeds paranoia. Nightmare